Imagine standing at the edge of a quiet river in the Amazon. The water is calm, only broken by the sound of insects and the distant call of a bird. But beneath the surface, something stirs. A shadow, far too large to belong to any fish or crocodile, glides silently through the current. This isn't a legend from folklore, it's a glimpse into our planet's past. 60 million years ago, a snake longer than a bus and heavier than a car ruled these waters. Its name was Titanoboa. Titanoboa lived roughly 60 million years ago, in the mysterious period right after the extinction of the dinosaurs. This wasn't just another large reptile. It was a creature so massive that it redefined what we thought possible for snakes. Imagine a serpent stretching nearly 42 feet long, longer than a school bus, and weighing more than 2,500 pounds. That's over a ton of pure muscle and power. To understand just how shocking that is, compare it to the giants we know today. The green anaconda, one of the largest living snakes, can grow over 20 feet, sometimes even closer to 25. But Titanoboa was almost double that size. Where an anaconda might intimidate us, Titanoboa would have been utterly monstrous, an apex predator in a world still recovering from the fall of dinosaurs. The first clues to its existence came from deep underground in the Cerrejón coal mines of Colombia. Paleontologists discovered vertebrae so large they almost seemed fake, like props from a monster movie. But the evidence didn't stop there. Bones from nearly 30 different Titanoboas were eventually uncovered, confirming that this was no single freak of nature. It was a whole species ruling its environment. And what an environment it was! Picture a steamy tropical swamp, hotter and more humid than even today's Amazon rainforest. Towering palms and ferns choked the wetlands, while enormous turtles and crocodile-like reptiles drifted through the murky water. It was in this prehistoric jungle that Titanoboa thrived, perfectly adapted to life both in and around the water. Think of Titanoboa as a supercharged version of the modern anaconda. It would coil silently beneath the surface, its massive body blending into the swamp, waiting with terrifying patience. Then, in an instant, it could explode into action, ambushing anything unlucky enough to come close. Titanoboa wasn't prowling across the land chasing dinosaurs. That era had already ended. Instead, it had mastered a very different hunting ground: the sweltering, swampy waterways of ancient Colombia. Fossil skull fragments and jawbones reveal that its menu was dominated by massive fish, giant freshwater turtles, and ancient crocodile relatives. Imagine rivers teeming with prey the size of today's alligators. And in those murky depths lurked a serpent longer than a bus, perfectly camouflaged among reeds and shadows. Its hunting strategy was terrifyingly efficient. Titanoboa likely behaved much like modern boas and anacondas, relying on stealth and patience rather than speed. It would lie motionless in the water, its massive body hidden just beneath the surface. To an unsuspecting fish or turtle, it was simply another part of the riverbank, until in an instant the snake struck with explosive force. Once its jaws clamped down, the true horror began. Titanoboa killed by constriction, wrapping prey in coils that could generate pressures far exceeding what steel can withstand without bending. Every heartbeat of its victim became a countdown to suffocation. And in water, Titanoboa had an added weapon. Its immense weight allowed it to drag prey under, drowning it while simultaneously crushing the life out of it. Nothing in its ecosystem could rival its dominance. Even the early crocodile-like creatures, usually apex predators themselves, became little more than prey when Titanoboa struck. In this swampy kingdom, there was no contest. Titanoboa wasn't just another predator, it was the top of the food chain, a reptilian overlord ruling the waterways of a post-dinosaur world. If Titanoboa had never gone extinct, the modern world would look completely unique. Where would it live? Most likely in the Amazon basin, the Orinoco wetlands, or other hot swampy rivers. Titanoboa thrived in scorching climates hotter than today's rainforests, so survival now would mean adapting to slightly cooler temperatures, or clinging to the steamiest, most humid corners of South America. Its presence would completely reshape modern ecosystems. Adult crocodiles might find themselves prey instead of predator. Populations of large fish could collapse. Birds and mammals that nest near rivers would be forced to adapt, evolving new ways to survive in a world where every water's edge hides a monster. And what if humans lived alongside Titanoboa? Entire river systems would become danger zones. Fishing villages might build barriers or avoid certain bends of the river altogether, just as some Amazonian tribes even today whisper legends of giant snakes that sound eerily familiar. And if rivers became danger zones, that raises the question everyone wonders. Would Titanoboa actually eat people? The answer is yes, it could. A snake of that size is physically capable of swallowing a human whole. But here's the twist. Modern giant snakes, like anacondas or pythons, rarely target humans. We're simply too rare, too risky compared to the easier prey they usually take. Still, in river communities, accidents would be inevitable. A child playing too close to the water, a fisherman leaning over his canoe. Each rare but horrifying encounter would spark fear and feed local legends. Now picture the headline: World's largest snake claims another victim. Governments would be forced to respond, some declaring Titanoboa a protected natural wonder, others calling for its eradication. Conservationists might fight to save it, while terrified locals demanded its destruction. If Titanoboa had truly survived until today, it probably wouldn't look exactly like the fossils. Millions of years of evolution would shape it. Maybe it would be slightly smaller to cope with cooler climates, maybe more nocturnal to avoid humans. It might even specialize in new prey like capybaras or river dolphins. So the modern Titanoboa wouldn't just be a monster snake, it would be an apex predator uniquely tuned to today's world.